In progress.
All right. Quite focused without my glass. I think we can call this meeting to order. Shall we have the roll call?
Commissioner Chan?
Here.
Commissioner Chang Frank?
Here.
Commissioner Logan?
Here.
Commissioner Martin?
Here.
Commissioner Trinkle?
Here.
And Chair Abbott?
Here.
As of right now, Commissioner Kent is absent. And we do have our new commissioner starting tonight, Commissioner Jennifer Logan.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Did Commissioner Kent say he wouldn't be here, or he may show up, or we don't know?
I didn't get a message saying that he was not
We
coming.
didn't send out a reminder. We'll see. We certainly have a quorum, though. That one's on mark. Okay. I will read the land acknowledgement. The City of Albany recognizes that we occupy the land originally protected by the Confederated Villages of Lejeune. We acknowledge the genocide that took place on these lands and must make strides to repay the moral debt that is owed to this indigenous people, specifically the Ohlone tribe. We thank them for their contributions, which have transformed our community and will continue to bring forth growth and unity. The City of Albany commits to sustaining ongoing relationships with the tribe and together build a better future for all that now make this their home. There we go.
And we are going to welcome Commissioner Kent.
Excellent. We'll give him a moment to get settled.
Actually, while he's getting settled, I just wanted to give an update that we are going to bump item 4.4-2 from the agenda. Our Dina, our community development director, who is presenting this, is sick, and I think it's a good project for her to introduce herself to the commission, and so we're going to push it a month.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Sure.
And let's get the minutes, all of the minutes from the last meeting. Any?
I move to approve the minutes.
All right, have a second? You may want to view them, or you have a comment, or?
No, that just, our newest commissioner should probably abstain from this one because it wasn't here.
Sure.
But otherwise, I second.
Okay, very good.
Commissioner Chan?
Yes.
Commissioner Chang Frank?
Yes.
Commissioner Kent?
Yes.
Commissioner Logan's going to abstain. Commissioner Martin?
Yes.
Commissioner Trinkle?
Yes.
And Chair Abbott?
Yes, all right, very good.
Motion passes.
Motion passes. All right, public comment. I see no public in the room. How about virtual people?
No hands raised online.
Okay, very good. Give it another few seconds. All right. Moving on then, presentations. I believe one is Prop 68 Measure M funded projects update.
Want me to drive this?
Want Jamara to?
Yeah,
Too late.
I hope you have it.
Well-oiled machine.
There you go, yep.
Sorry, trying to get it to the. There we go.
All right. All right, good evening, commissioners. My name is Andre Sterling, project manager at Public Works. I'm here to give you an update on our Prop 68 projects for this year. So we can go to the next slide. So we're going to discuss specifically Pierce Street Park, the access and landscape improvements project, Jules Terrace Park, shade improvements and dog amenities, as well as a brief update on the Dartmouth Tot Lot seating element upgrade. So next slide, please. So we just wanted to highlight one project that was completed since our last update with Pros Commission. That's the path lighting project at Memorial Park. Those were the 5 new lamp posts that were installed there, completed in August of 2025. So it gives obviously more security there at night at the park, as well as a warm color temperature lighting there. All right, next slide, please. So our first update is on Pierce Street Park, access, landscape, and shade improvements, and it's all based on the recommendations from the PROS master plan. So next slide. Just as a review of the project scope, since it's been a while since our last update. So new entry stairs, 2 sets of stairs with handrails, and that's made from repurposed eucalyptus tree lumber from Albany Hill. New landscape boulders, native plant material and trees that will be planted, new asphalt path with a bollard, a new shade structure for the play equipment. Here's our conceptual layout. So it's going to be done in 2 phases. So phase 1 would be the access improvements. And as we said with the scope, a new asphalt path that's in the north side of the park there. We're going to relocate some of the existing boulders and also install new landscape boulders to direct traffic to the new entry stairways there. And then, of course, the plant material with the trees, and also installing phase 2, the new shade structure for the play equipment. All right, next slide, please. And that's a rendering there of the south side of the park with newly planted trees, new landscape boulders, the new lumber staircase there. And next slide. And then the north side with the asphalt path, another lumber entry stairway, and then new trees planted near the benches as well as throughout the hillside. All right, next slide. So for phase 2, we're looking at 3 options for a shade structure, cantilever style, as well as a shade cell. And the considerations for this decision will be based on which one is more cost effective, but more importantly, which one provides the best coverage for the play equipment. There will be a shade study performed to help us make that decision as well. Since these are somewhat substantial structures, they're going to be based on engineering plans. All right, next slide, please. Here's our tentative schedule. So we're in the bid phase at the moment and hoping to award the contract at the end of this month and start construction in March and complete it in about a couple months. All right, our next slide. So our next project in the queue would be the Jules Terrace Park, shade improvements and dog amenities project. So looking to install shade elements there in the picnic area, which could be a grove of trees or material furnishing. And then the dog amenities upgrade would be installing new signage indicating dog and dog owner etiquette, as well as developing a system that defines the dog play area that's there. All based on recommendations from the PROS master plan. All right, next slide, please. So the preliminary scope involves obviously the picnic area and just planting additional trees there to provide shading for the picnic tables. And then at the southwest corner of the park, which is usually used for dog play or for like a dog play area there, there could be a possibility of installing a fence there to basically make it an official dog run for the dogs there. Next slide, please. And then our tentative schedule, again, would be completing the design phase, sending the project out for bid in March, awarding the contract shortly after in May, and then starting construction in June. And since it's a smaller project, it should be completed within a month. All right, next slide, please. All right, just a brief update on the Dartmouth tot lot of the seating element upgrade. So basically to replace uncomfortable seating elements that are the existing seating that's there, and prioritizing community and comfort. So the considerations for that, again, the most cost-effective option, but also considering comfort and most importantly, safety for the users of the tot lot, and looking at also what best fits the space as far as size, dimension, but also aesthetics of the tot lot. And that concludes the presentation.
All right, thank you very much. Bring it to the commission for questions. Have any questions? The updates?
Yeah, I had a few. One was for Pierce Street Park. The plantings, you said there's going to be drought-tolerant plants or native plants or something?
Native plants, yes.
And I know the first round, when the park was first built and commissioned, a bunch of the trees that were planted died, and it was, John Hawkridge, the city urban forester, said it was freeway soil, it was just bad news, and maybe there wasn't sufficient watering or something, irrigation. Do you know if there's any plans for doing a different strategy that will hopefully lead to better success on the landscaping?
Yeah, that's a good question. I know that we were discussing, we do have some quick couplers that are there, and we're not going to add irrigation at this point. That's not in this project scope, but we are discussing another solution for at least watering. But the soil, I know we've done amendments in the past, and we can probably discuss that, looking into improving the soil quality, but we're not sure how much that's going to improve.
I can maybe jump in, since I was sort of involved in the initial construction as well as the tree issues. Some of the trees are doing okay, and other ones, it is a difficult environment because it is a hard packed soil. Plus, there's lots of debris in it. So once a tree takes hold, like it tends to stay. It tends to go. But we have replaced a lot of the trees over time. So that's something we'll find one that works, and we are trying to water them more on a more regular type basis, but without an irrigation system. In terms of amending the soil, we did for lots of years, and it's really just a difficult location. So I think there are some plants out there that are doing well, and we'll try to use those. But I think that's going to be an ongoing challenge. Right now, it looks great. We were out there today with Caltrans, but the native plants, once without an irrigation system, they kind of go brown pretty quickly.
Okay. It says the bid phase was in December with breaking ground in March. For the shade options, you showed us 3. How is that decision going to be made? When is that decision going to be made? And who will be making that decision?
Well, we can look to your recommendation as well for input on that decision, but based on the cost, because we do have a limit to the grant funding as well as the matching funds, but we're working with a contractor that's providing a shade study that's basically going to give us the best look at the best shade coverage for the area. So with those factors, obviously aesthetics, we don't want something that's going to be an eyesore.
But the bids went out in December. Does that mean the plan, some people were bidding on it with an unfinished plan? Or?
I'm sorry?
You said the bids went out in December.
Yes.
Does that mean the request for proposals or whatever, the bids, does that mean that they didn't know which option it was going to be, but they're still going to come up with a dollar figure, or how does that work?
Yeah, good question. So we sent out the RFP, and basically with a recommendation for a shade structure, but they can present an as equal option. And looking at those, again, there's going to be a slightly varying cost in each one, but each contractor does know whoever's going to submit the bid, they know that we will accept an as equal to whatever recommendations that we sent out.
All right. And for Jules Terrace Park, that area where you've said might be fenced off, who's going to make the decision as to whether or not it's fenced off? And do you have a sense of roughly how big that area is compared to Memorial Park, Dog Park?
Yeah, so we're still developing the project scope. And once we have a more finalized scope, we can come back to pros and present that to you, basically, to make that decision. That's an option. I don't know how much public polling was done involving, or in the past with the park, but that's just an option. We're not saying that's the final decision.
And then for the shade for the picnic area, you said it could be plants or it could be like awnings or something. Do you know who decides that and how that works?
Yeah, that could also be presented to pros for recommendation, but there were trees planted there previously that were removed, so it would make sense to keep it a more natural area and just replant some trees, native trees there. We're going to work closely with John Hawkridge as well with that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, other questions?
Sure.
Go back to the design.
So the boulders on top are to keep people from driving cars on or keeping control access to the intent?
Yeah, that's for vehicle traffic. It's going to be a 6-foot wide path with a bollard in the middle. So similar to the path that's there, I know there's 2 bollards there, existing bollards on the other path.
And so in the future phase, we're going to continue that path down to Cleveland, but that's not.
It's not included in this project scope.
So I can jump in on that. The future path will connect into this a little further to the north. I think
South?
well, it's going to connect to the south and then come connect to it's connecting on both sides.
Yeah.
And then my questions are also along the lines of the tree. You know, it's really turf soil, and I wonder if
Yeah.
this goes on a bad putting things there, trees that won't grow. Whether we need to do something more serious, like I'm sure we've done soil tests. Like it's just like an absence of oxygen. Is it just so active?
We haven't done soils tests. I
Oh yeah. Yeah, my speaker was off. There we go.
There we go.
World can hear me. Okay.
We haven't done soils tests. That might be something we could do, but it is it is the old highway off ramp. So
Yeah,
one
so
of
I
this-
know other places like that where it's just almost impossible to grow, and some arborists, they just don't even try, they walk away
Yeah.
from it. And that, it's our park, so we can't walk away from it.
Right.
It's not an option. Can we auger down, and just drill a big hole through it, get the roots down deeper? Or is it just like 20 feet and deeper?
we at this point we could try almost anything, and it's what we're doing is marginally effective. Like there's some trees that are doing okay, and others that just no matter how many times we replant them, they were kind of getting the same thing. So
Right.
I'm open to almost anything, and I'm sure John would be too.
I don't have any solutions. I think.
Of the trees that are doing well, are they specific varieties or just whatever that right place and right?
Right place, right time. I think one of the struggles, there. So we did amend it several times, and every time we would try to rototill, just more pipe and rock and broken up everything that chunks of concrete from the highway keep. So it's not great material.
Yeah, right. Okay.
But we could. I like the idea of the auger. I can talk to John about that.
Yeah, I mean, often if we're working in industrial sites, you dig a hole and they fill it with water and see how long it takes to drain. And if it takes 2 days and water's still sitting there, then it's a drainage problem. And then you auger and then you hopefully.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe that. It's also obviously bad soil, but not like it's going to get down 18 inches and find good stuff, right?
No.
Okay, other questions?
Yeah, I just had a question. Can you show the Jules Terrace Park diagram? And go towards that. We talked a little bit about that dog run. That's what Commissioner Martin was asking about the fenced-off area. Is that right? Is it? Okay. So maybe I'm not recalling correctly. Was that in the master plan?
It was actually,
Oh, okay. It was
a
something, okay, as a recommendation, okay. So I don't remember discussing that in depth at any point here on this commission. So just warning, I feel like that might be a big issue potentially for neighbors. And not to say that overall the city may totally support it, but it's just something we should make sure that the process is good and that there's a lot of public involvement and a lot of notification. Not to say either way, but just to make sure everybody who has a stake in it feels like they've been heard.
definitely.
I would just say that especially if we're going to put a fence up. Even if just signage, we should probably be sure and reach out. But if there's going to be a fence, I guess this is no longer a question. All right, any other questions? We jumped right to discussion. I think questions I had have been asked. So go to public, open up for public comment.
No hands raised.
Hand raised. Okay. Very good. Now we can have our discussion. I mean, you're not really looking for anything from us right now, right? You're just kind of an update. You don't need.
Just an update, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, there is no irrigation, no plans to have irrigation, or did you try it and?
No, there's no plans, and I guess part of that would be, I know we did discuss briefly that we have existing quick couplers there, and just developing either a schedule. In that hillside, there's no irrigation. That's actually for the field area, so that could be completed under another project in the future, but not with this.
I think one of the issues in the development of the project was not being irrigated because this was done in the midst of a drought, and the idea was to have drought-tolerant plants and not have an established irrigation system. I did take the opportunity to put some quick couplers in there to hand water things, but it's not a developed irrigation system, and it's based off the water service serving the restroom facility, so it really doesn't have the capacity that you would have for a developed system.
There's not enough, you wouldn't run it off the bathroom.
Yeah. And I was surprised at how much irrigation, I think it was something like $80,000 to establish a new irrigation line. There has been talk with East Bay Mud bringing recycled water to the area, but I think that's
Not cheaper.
it's not cheap, and it's, I think, a long way away.
Making its way, right? Isn't into
Well,
Berkeley yet, or?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've had engagement with East Bay Mud at different times, and I think they run into struggles with how to get alignment there. And this is probably as far away. It's not a huge demand, and it's probably the most expensive to serve.
And this also seems like an opportunity to engage the community, Friends of E. Thompson Pierce Street Park. The whole park was the result of community involvement. It might be neighbors there, Hondas, whatever that might be. Even if it's leaving a bucket by the.
True.
Any other comment? Other than yeah.
I did want to second Commissioner Chang Frank's comment about the noticing for the dog run. So, because she and Commissioner Abbott and I were on the subcommittee for the Memorial Park Dog Park, and that was a huge, elaborate affair. This I wouldn't necessarily anticipate it being as much of a thing, but it should be duly noticed, and we have opportunities for public input.
And one might think that because it's a de facto dog park now, it wouldn't matter, but one would be wrong. That's why I'm saying even if the signs go up, you need to reach out.
Fair enough.
All right. Little gun shy here. All right. Any other comments? All right. Well, thank you very much. I think we're all excited to see this project.
Yeah, great to see all the progress too.
It's really
already
fun to
made.
see these actually happening.
Thank you.
We know you're making it all possible.
I think
All
I
right.
have, I can make it work. I can
Moving on to the park maintenance update, if we're ready.
Yes,
And at the beginning of the meeting, if some people just tuned in, we decided to skip 4.2 because
yes, 4.2 we're skipping. Are you here for 4.2? The,
Well, I'm gonna call a chair's prerogative and say we may now reopen public comment. So if you would like to step up and have your 3 minutes, please.
Very briefly, my name's Dave Levy. I used to live in Albany for about 10 years. I live in Kensington now. I'm a pretty avid tennis person. I just joined the board of the USTA Northern California. So I'm here for a couple of reasons. One is I just want to make the commission aware of the fact that there's a fair amount of grant funding that the national USTA makes available for local organizations, whether it's community tennis associations or cities. And so I just want to make myself a resource if anybody, if anybody's interested and wants to learn more about that. I'd be happy to be, or to connect you with a staff member at the USDA NorCal, the organization. So I wanted to offer myself as that. Then I also just wanted to comment that I think the courts at Terrace and Memorial are falling into pretty high level of disrepair, which I think is, I'm sure you guys have noticed and probably heard from other people at some point, but I just wanted to point it out and let you guys know that they get used a ton. And to the point where I don't play as much at Memorial as I used to because I have to reserve them if I want to. But they're great courts, it's a great park, and I would hope that at some point they get fixed up a little bit. And yeah, that's about it.
All right, well, thank you very much.
And to be clear, it's USTA and not USDA.
That's true. That's right. I work with the USDA in my regular life, and I do not want to have anything to do with that. No.
just, I give you a little preview of the next presentation. Talking about park maintenance and one of the upcoming projects for this year. We have established an annual park rehabilitation program, and we're going to redo the courts at Terrace Park.
Okay, good. Yeah,
It's a little snippet.
yeah. Julia knows who I am, but if anybody wants to get my contact information
Well,
I'll give you, you can connect with me. And
the city is notoriously uninterested in sources of money.
It can be large amounts of money for really large projects or small amounts. Like there's a grant amount coming that's small micro grants, like in the $2,500 range for if you want to buy new benches or new nets for all of the courts or things like that. So there's different types of programs. I am not an expert, but I'm learning about it, and I can definitely connect you to experts to learn more about it.
Well, thank you. I think they will gladly take your information. Thanks so much for coming down and making your comment.
Thank you, guys.
All right, we will now close public comment, move to item 4.3, of which we've had a tantalizing little preview.
I think I could just, the fonts got a little jacked up when I opened it here, so I saved it as a PDF, so that might, work. Yes? I got things open. Maybe you can drive and just take the PDF. You got it? I'm gonna stop sharing because I think I was messing things up. That's where I got stumped. Here, I got it now.
Okay.
Yep. All right.
We're just texting you guys and make sure you guys are still woke. All right. Back to our regular scheduled program.
Okay, so. There we go. All right, so this is a update on our parks maintenance. So this is something we were trying to do a number of times a year, but due to staff turnover and whatnot, we got out of cycle. So this is my attempt to kind of bring us back up to speed and let everyone know where we are with some of the park maintenance things. So let me jump in. And so we're just going to give an overview of our approach to park maintenance, see how it fits within the larger public works environment, and then some of the key activities that we've been doing. One of the things I'm really excited about is SB 1383. This is something that we've talked about at prior council meeting or commission meetings and has been a struggle, and there's been some recent developments and changes that are actually in our favor, which I'm really excited about. And then we'll just touch on some upcoming projects, including the tennis courts that we mentioned. So, so Public Works has what I think one of the broader scopes of work within the city. We have 16 FTEs as full-time equivalents, and then a single part-time person, we take care of a lot of things within the city. Everything from delivering capital projects, which Andre talked about, to maintaining all the infrastructure and things in our right-of-way. And just from, I think this is how we organize ourselves within the budgets and things of that sort. We have sort of functional areas, capital improvements, right-of-way, buildings and facilities, parks and playfields, open space, and then sort of departmental management. And so, like in right-of-way, it's everything from operation and maintenance of the storm drains, regulatory requirements, trash and graffiti, buildings and facilities. It's just the general maintenance of the facilities. In parks and open space, this is all of our structured parks, and I'll say that's like Terrace Park, and I'll even include the Greenway in there to a certain extent. And the open spaces are more of the Bulb and Albany Hill, Cornesis Creek. So that's sort of our division of labor there. And our approach to maintenance, generally speaking, we have 7 maintenance workers, 3 of which are lead workers. So that's they're responsible for a functional area. So we have one person around parks, and we see Michael Hogue. He's our lead worker for parks, and so he's knee-deep in everything related to parks. And lead workers aren't, we're not large enough to have people exclusively with parks, so we do everything. But as a lead worker, the idea is he's spending a portion of his time understanding what's going on in parks, so when there is an issue, he has the contacts to go out and address it. And then we have a lead worker for public right-of-way, and then a lead worker for buildings. And they're supported by 4 maintenance workers, and these are level 2. Right now, we have we're down a couple of people for various reasons, so we're down 2 people, and we're looking to kind of bring that back up. So that's a constraint in what we can do. And then we have a public works manager, which is a vacant position right now. And then we have a project manager, Andre, who helps support projects, and then the urban forester. And so that's sort of the key folks that are involved in managing the parks. The park maintenance, we have some sort of what I call core activities, and we call this the trash run. And that's more of, more than just picking up the trash. What it is, it's a structured time that we go through all the parks. So Memorial Park is, we have I think it's Route A or whatever. We have a Monday, Friday trash run, and this is where we go through Memorial Park, Terrace Park, Ocean View Park. We pick up the trash. We blow all the pathways. We make sure that the sand in the sandboxes are at the right level, and there, we make sure there's no issues with that. We make sure the bathrooms are stocked. If there's other issues in going in the park, we either address it right then. Maybe it's a graffiti issue, or we put it on a list that gets done separately. So it's really our eyes in the park, making sure that it's functional. We also have, in different parks, so basically Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we do some version of trash run throughout the city. And then we also do what we call the weekend service, and this was something we brought on, I would say, a couple of years ago, coming out of COVID, where we found, and this is, again, a good problem to have, our parks get a lot of use, so our idea is that we would empty the trash on a Friday. It would be, and that would be enough capacity to last us through Monday when we get another trash run. That's not the case. After Saturday, in a lot of cases, the parks need a little bit of a tuning up. So we bring in a maintenance worker on overtime for 4 hours, 4 hours on a Sunday morning, to really just make sure things are ready for the next day's activities in the parks. And so there's, particularly Memorial Park and Ocean View parks get a lot of picnics and parties and things of that sort. So that's been really helpful to, that was one of our largest area of complaints, and I think we've really addressed that, so the complaints are dropping significantly. And I'll jump to, we coordinate with rec a lot on this issue, because when recreation has a park attendant out there, and that person is there to assist people doing rentals and whatnot, and that person does some of the lift, but we want to make sure that we come in and do some underlying heavy stuff, make sure the restrooms are stocked. If there's trash cans overflowing from the day before, we make sure that's taken care of and cleaned up across all of our parks. But then the attendant can deal with sort of the, wiping down tables and helping with trash, but not, they just don't have the facilities to do it like we do. And then we also rely on contractors, particularly in the landscape maintenance. We irrigation management and trees. We don't have a tree crew. We also bring in specialty stuff. We had a storm drain issue in Memorial Park this last year, and so we brought in someone to help clear some storm drains to help with some drainage problems. So, it's really a nice combination of work that we do in-house versus stuff that we contract out. And my thought is we want to do work in-house that we are best suited to. So things like the trash run, we know our parks. We're going to go do this thing, and we can identify when there is an issue and bring it up. And if we can take care of it, we'll do it. If we need to bring in a contractor, we will. And I think that's working. And in a lot of cases, our maintenance workers are helping make the decision of what we can do and what we can't do. And then we rely on community partnerships, and this is primarily, Albany Unified, particularly with the baseball team. They take a really active engagement in maintaining, particularly the ball field in Memorial Park, as well as other things, and other people who use the fields come in and do work days and so forth. So some of the key activities we've done since the last update, which I think was almost like a year and a half, 2 years ago, so I want to get back on cycle on this. One thing, we did a restroom refresh for Memorial Park, Ocean View, and Terrace Park. And Memorial Park was probably the largest one of these. And if you recall, maybe was that 2016, 2017, there was the update of the restrooms in Memorial Park. I would say in the last couple of years, they were really in again, they get a lot of use, and which is good, but they were showing some wear and tear, particularly with the partitions. At Memorial Park, we pulled all the partitions out, took everything, and we redid a surface, floor surface on it, so it's more of an epoxy, and hopefully that will last better. We got new brackets. I think Andre spent a lot of time trying to track down the manufacturer and get brackets to make sure. One of the things, the brackets were broken, so the partitions were just all over the place, and they weren't functioning. So we cleaned the graffiti, we recoated them, reinstalled them, and they look pretty good. At Terrace Park and Ocean View, we essentially repainted the inside and outside because, again, they were looking tired, and that was done with our staff. And then one of the things we've been doing the last couple of years, and this is primarily in response to the SB 1383, was the winter and summer services for the fields. So this is where we close the fields. The winter service we're just coming out of. We closed the fields in late November, and excuse me, they're basically closed through December and January. We do a top coating of compost. We aerate. We seed, and it's this year. I've got a picture of it at Memorial Park. It really looks good. So this is an opportunity. The fields get a lot of playtime. We don't use really any fertilizers or any sort of other amendments. So giving time for the fields to breathe and just put some compost on, we water it and let it go without anyone on it is really showing some improvement. And at Ocean View, there were a number of bare spots that we were getting a lot of complaints from, particularly the soccer folks, about playability and the fields being super hard and no grass. And then we had some other issues too with irrigation, where we had some breaks in the line and areas with coverage. So with this service, we went in. We had a contractor with Michael. We went and basically did an audit of our system, figuring out where the coverage issues were, and we identified a number of leaks that we fixed, because there were areas that were consistently wet, and then we have areas that were drying. So hopefully we're going to have much better performance on the irrigation side, which will help the fields. Then we also have done this down here. This, if you've been out in the bulb, we constructed a new set of ADA spaces. This came from a complaint from the public, not this last July, but the prior July, with someone who had accessibility issues, was having some struggles getting out to the bulb. And they brought it to our attention, and we realized that the spots that we had there that were ADA, that we identified for ADA, weren't really up to snuff, and part of it was when East Bay Regional Parks built their parking lot, that took the pathway that these spots use. So we took a step back and we constructed these two spots in the middle of the in that sort of island area between the pathway and the road. And so there are two nice spots with a pathway to the trail, and then we fixed some of the issues within the trail, and I think that's gotten a good response. And it, quite frankly, opened up a little more parking spaces for other folks. So I think that was a really good thing. We've also done these picnic tables. You really can't see it too well, but Peter in our maintenance, he's the lead worker for buildings, and he's really a good carpenter. He has replaced at Memorial Park all of the old sort of Trex or composite picnic material, material for the picnic tables, and they made it with nice wood, and it is much easier to maintain, because as people cut things into it or we can sand it out and repaint it, and it's a much better long-term for us to maintain. Our plan, and what he does is he buys the wood and we let it sit for a period of time so it dries out. And we're planning to do the same thing at Terrace Park because they have the same type of picnic tables. The other thing that it's on its way with the construction of the dog park, and this is back to the comment about the dog. Nothing changed in the dog park when we, other than switching the gate location. The park's basically the same, baseball's basically the same, but balls going over the fence were a big issue, and we got lots and lots and lots of comments about that. So we worked with Albany Unified and trying to figure out what's the real issue, and it seems like most of the comments come not during games, because the games really aren't the problem. It's during practice where someone's taking batting practice and the coach is very passionate. And one of the time we got lots of calls. They were coming up against a pitcher who can like throw 90 miles per hour, and everyone was fouling it off. And so, everyone's practicing and fouling it all off to the dog park, and the dog park's full. And so I think that's the sort of the use case that we're trying to address. So we found this product that's used at other high schools, and the Albany Unified coach said, yeah, he's seen this work, and it's called a batting turtle. So it's kind of this cage that you sit in, and it prevents foul balls from going out in either ways. So we have that on the way, and as baseball's ramping up now, our hope is, and this we've talked with Sid, is this will be a requirement to use for anyone who's renting the fields, whether it be Albany Unified, the Cyclones, I guess that's a travel ball team that uses it, the Albany Little League. They'll use that during practice, and then games will happen as normal. So
Fold up or something?
yeah, it folds up. Apparently, it's not too hard to move. It looks gangly to me, but they cleaned out an area that they can keep it up on the first baseline, and I think this. Hopefully, this will maybe not address all the problems, but really take a bite out of them. So. And then we also do, we just finished pruning the trees in Terrace Park today. So we've gone through most of the parks doing trimming work, and we do play equipment inspections. This helps. We actually have an outside person come and identify, defects with this in the play equipment. This is the play structures at the parks, and a lot of them are things that I probably wouldn't have caught, like. When the coating comes off of it, that creates an issue for the kids and whatnot. So they give us recommendations, and we went through a process of replacing a bunch of equipment, and we'll have another inspection here. And not the equipment itself, we replaced components of the damaged components of the equipment, and we'll likely have another inspection here shortly to see if anything else is going on. And then we monitor all the sand and sort of playground fiber, safety surfaces in the playground areas to make sure they're up to stuff. Surprising how much stuff we go through. And then our challenges. So this is the exact same slide other than the updated pictures that we had before. It's vandalism and graffiti. These pictures are from last weekend, where we had someone come through and basically the same style of graffiti, starting at the bulb, working it's all the way through the parks and up and down the Greenway. We have really made a concerted effort to jump on graffiti as quickly as we can. We found that it goes away. Someone's going to do this, but if we leave it there, more comes if we take care of it quickly. I don't know if you've noticed it with the columns along the BART tracks, where we've basically taken over management of that from BART because they weren't keeping up, and it was really becoming an issue. So some of the things we've done to respond to the graffiti and vandalism is we have the weekend park checks, and that's kind of keeps us on top of things before it really spins out of control. One of the things we've done too, which is interesting, is the bathrooms lock on a timer, and we've adjusted those times just throw people off. One of the things we open them later, and sometimes it's after school starts, because that means people aren't running around in the bathrooms before school. And then depending on what the rentals are, particularly with daylight savings, we shift the time because, in the summertime when there's softball games going on, 10 o'clock's a perfect time. In the winter, it's not. And what happens is people go in there and we have problems. And we've coordinated with Albany Unified, and they've been really great to help. Particularly, one of the issues we've had was trash at Memorial Park during lunch, and they've been great to work with in terms of reminding people to do it. We coordinate our Wednesday trash run to happen after lunch. I don't know if our students have noticed that, but we then, after lunch, then we go and clean up the park, make sure there's no overflowing trash cans, and that seems to have alleviated that issue. But there's usually someone from the school there also reminding people to put away their trash. But I guess it's like people forget. It goes in waves. And in some cases, we involve Albany Police Department, particularly with, we have people living, we'll spend night in the bathroom. And so on things like that, we have our maintenance workers call PD to make sure it's safe to go in and clean up. All right, SB 1383. So this was and just for people who aren't familiar, this was a state law that was enacted, 4 or 5 years ago, something along those lines, and it really impacted how solid waste management happens. And one of the components that relates to us is this requirement for purchasing and use of organic material. So it was a way of developing a market for organic material for use in a whole host of things you can do with it. So each city was given an allocation based on some formula, and our initial allocation was 1364 tons. And this is not tons of, this was, I call this tons of SB 1383 compliant organic material.
And that's annual.
Annually. And because there's this long list of things that can contribute, and then a conversion factor to this made up tons thing. So I'll have, this is all in compliant organic material. The 1364 was going to be a heavy lift, not only for us, but for every other municipality. And we jumped on it and tried to do and the way this was done, it was phased in over, I think it was 4 years or 3 or 4 years where you would phase up, and we were meeting our targets, but quite frankly, if things didn't change, I don't know what we would have done. So our revised target is now 460, which is hugely different. And I think this was our local regulator, our local agency is Stop Waste, and they worked with was it KALB Recycle to lower to make the case to lower the requirements for cities. So and that's great. And now we're sitting in a great position, because our baked-in uses are, we do 2 annual, twice annual compost giveaway, and this is through Waste Management. You can see the pallets, and we have most of our crew out there. And it's something that I think people line up for pretty darn early in the morning, and it's a really good thing. And that provides about 69 tons. And our field services, our winter is almost 300. Our summer service, which is very similar, but we do less fields for less time. We only do the ball fields instead of sort of broader in the parks. And that's 215. And then we support compost to the compost hub, and that's at the Gill Track. And that totals 662, which is way above our requirement. And so this is great for us. So now we're actually in a position where we're digging into. So when we started this, and I don't know if you guys remember, like, we're just kind of throwing everything out there, trying to get uses that make sense. Now that we've met our requirement, and from what I understand, this requirement's going to stay stable unless there's some other determination that we would have time to react with it. So from my perspective, we're going to start organizing our effort around meeting that requirement, while I think particularly for the field services, we've gotten a lot of benefit out of doing this. So what we're going to probably do is go through and see which ones are sort of the best use for our money in this, and I could see backing off on maybe the summer service or some part of it, and really dial this in to be the most impactful at cost. So we're in a really good spot for this, and we'll obviously not dial it in too tight so that we're not so we don't miss compliance. And like other things that we've tried to do in Public Works, we want to make sure the activities that we're doing flow into the compliance reporting, so that the first couple of years it was like, wait a minute, I remember that project, where's that receipt? Let's get the thing. So we want to make sure that we're actually talking with Waste Management, our hauler, to help us. Right now we buy our compost through our landscape contractor, and so that has a higher cost. We can buy it through Waste Management, who has a company that makes out in the Central Valley for organic farming and whatnot. So it's really, really quality stuff. They can deliver it here. We have a certain amount built into our franchise, and that could lower our unit cost pretty significantly. In rough numbers, when we buy compost, and this switching, instead of SB 1383 compliant units, cubic yards, normal cubic yards, we buy it for about like $50 a ton or a cubic yard, delivered from Acapulco. We buy it from our contractor at roughly 40, kind of pulling it out is roughly 40. I think with Waste Management, what we have built into our contract, it might be between 20 and 30, which really drops our costs. So, this is great. We can start thinking about this rather than worrying what's giving it in little baggies and everyone's going to have to take some home for something. So
Just thinking, how much can we dump on Peggy Thompson?
right. Well, seriously. That was one of our thoughts, was maybe we just make piles, compost piles, and move them around and see what happens. And now we get to some forward-looking things. One of the things we've done in all of our systems, and I think we've talked about the trees and streetlights and things. We're kicking off an effort, actually, I think in the coming weeks, to do an inventory, a GIS inventory of all the facilities in our parks. So this will be a basis for us to start doing a replacement schedule around our play equipment and other things, fencing, so one, we're very clear what we have, what its condition, and then we can start putting a replacement program. And this goes hand in hand with a new feature that we have in our capital improvement program. In other areas, we've established these, what we call it, programs. Like we have a sewer program, we have sidewalk program, we have a road program, and the idea is we want to be investing a certain level every year in and year out, not so much in a, like a signature project, it's just in the basic stuff, so that we don't have comments like we had today about, you know, the playability of our courts being in bad shape. And, you know, I don't think there's a lot of things are looking tired. They're could use a refresh. So this is going to be our, in the current CIP, we have about $200,000 a year for a 5-year plan. Hopefully, when we get to the end of that, we can, in the new plan, extend that and adjust it based on what our needs are. So this year, we have a couple of things in the plan. We have at Memorial Park, the backstops at the padding on the backstop is just deteriorating before our eyes. It's, and so we're going to replace that. We're getting a quote for that right now. And then we're going to do the Terrace Park tennis courts. And this is one thing that I wanted to bring up with, unfortunately, Dina's not here, but I wanted to have the conversation. In the master plan, there was discussion about flex courts and what we do with flex courts and how we integrate those. And one of the opportunities for flex courts is when we redo tennis courts. And it's not a big lift to paint lines to support another use. The lift is, are we all on the same page of what that other use is? And one of the things I wanted to do, and it's kind of great that we had the commenter, and Andre has his contact, because one of the things I want to make sure is that we don't degrade the playability for tennis, because you know, the courts at Albany High are Albany High's home court. The courts at Terrace Park are used by St. Mary's College High School, and so we want to make sure that they're playable from a match play or whatever. But this is the opportunity to bring that in. So that's one thing that I want to be talking about, so that Andre doesn't have to make it up himself. And then we have the Ohlone Linear Park fitness equipment replacement. I believe Andre has meeting with vendors right now to look at different options. So that should be coming to the commission here in 2026, if not early 2027. And then we want to do the citywide turf audit. This, to me, is one of the big things where we decide where we want turf, where we don't want turf, what could it be, and that folds into a couple of other studies, the programming along the Ohlone Greenway and Peggy Thompson Pierce Street Park, which are, you know, slated for 27 and 28. And in my mind, the Ohlone Greenway programming and Peggy Thompson programming go hand in hand with the project that Dean is going to be leading on the sort of, you know, what uses can go in different places. And then, now we get into the Measure M. I don't have budget numbers because I just, quite frankly, didn't have enough time. I do have a tab open I have links. All this stuff is on our website, so I can, let me see if I can get this up here. And show folks where it is. Okay. So, sharing. There we go. So this is on our website, where we detail really everything that's going on in a lot of areas. This is the page that deals with the Measure M, or the open Parks and Open Space parcel tax. These reports, they have reports here of projects and program expenditures, and that's updated annually. Give you a heads up, it hasn't been updated with the new audit that was just completed, but we're working on that and should be done fairly soon. But it does detail, you know, what we spend the money, what revenue's been coming in by fiscal year, and you can see exactly how we're spending it. And the way we've budgeted things, and it's a really a little bit of a tug. It supports both operating costs as well as capital. So it's something we keep an eye on and probably will adjust over time as needs come. And then I have, let me see, and then the next slide's around the construction alerts. This is another city projects. We call it construction alerts, but it's really all projects. On the website, we try to keep this updated about all the things going on in public works because we have a lot of them. And we have every project has a page, and we try to give, here, let's see if we can get into this one. What we do is identify the project number. There's usually a contact, a little history. This was the Albany Hill Forest Management Plan, so we have the final. We have documents related. This one is the plan development FAQs, but then we have all through this is where the sort of the repository of the history of the projects, and so we try to keep all of. I think some of it's been archived, but we try to keep everything on here as long as we can so that people can understand what's going on and look to here for the most current information. All right, let's see if we can get back to. Uh-oh. All right. So there's the link for, uh-oh. There we go. There's a construction alerts. And then finally, how to report issues. So one of the things we do is we have a, it's actually a GIS tool that you can report an issue, you can report the location, snap a picture, upload it, and on the, I guess the landing page it's called, the first page of when you go to the website, we have these tabs down here, and one's report an issue, and this will take you to that, and you can report an issue, and then Jamira will tell one of us to go do it. And with that, so open it up to questions and discussions.
All right. Maybe you would like to take a breath. That was a lot. Drink water or something.
Well, once I get going, I could keep going.
All right. Very good. Well, we should. All right. Questions?
Clarifying question, the 200,000 for the capital improvement plans over 5, is that each year?
Yeah, so it's $1 million over 5 years.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions?
Yeah, I had a few. One was for maintenance, the staffing is important, and you said we're down some FTEs. You mentioned there's 16 FTEs in your department with 16 point something with the part-time. Mm-hmm. How many of those positions would you say are vacant now, and what challenges, if any, do you anticipate in filling them?
So we have 2 open positions, and one is someone's out on a different issue. So part of it is on the maintenance workers, we've had some turnover because people find different jobs, and one of the things that I think the people here have a good experience, and it's a good place to work, but there's not a lot of opportunity. You know, we have a small crew. There's not a lot of movement, and all the people who have left for like, oh yeah, that makes sense. You're going to another place, less commute, something different, and so I think the maintenance worker side is something that's just always going to be one of these cycling in. The good news is we have 3 really good lead workers. I think all of them have been with the city longer than me. I think Michael's probably the the longest tenure, maybe pushing 20 years. So we do have some good institutional knowledge, but what we don't want to have is, we just had one person retire a while ago, about a year ago, and AJ, he had been with the city for, gosh, and he walked out with a lot of knowledge that we just realized that we're relying on him. So one of the things we're trying to do is make it so that everyone knows how to do everything in some ways. So it's building that capacity. But I think some of it's just part of doing business and on that in that maintenance worker side. The office positions, we have the public works manager position open, has been open for a while, hoping to fill it here shortly. But part of that was me wanting to stick my nose. That's why you're seeing more of me. I really stuck my nose into that side of the house to really understand what's going on and try to improve level of service. So I think we're at a point where we're going to start bringing in people. And one of the things I want to do is implement a new enterprise asset management program. It's like a work order program, essentially, that's tied to more GIS. That's why we're supporting the GIS, and that'll help us be more effective on the work order side of things.
Okay, thanks. For irrigation, you mentioned, I remember irrigation was going to be rerouted and improved in the dog park. That was part of the plan. That was very forward-thinking. That was great that the city and you were working on that. The irrigation issues you discussed tonight, the dry patches, the wet patches, is that there? Is that what you're talking about, or is it lots of other locations?
It's really all over the place, and some of it is, I walked it with Michael and our contractor. Like over time, some of the irrigation heads, because it's mowing, they get pushed down, and so some of them get buried, and some of them are at an angle, so they're not as effective. Some of them are just broken, and like there's a crack down below, and that's the persistent wet spot. So it was really just diligently going through the system and trying to correct as many issues as we can. And we've also done that along the Greenway to a certain extent.
Okay, so those sounds like more like local damage and things like that, whereas the dog park was a big system.
Dog park was a really unique thing because
splitting it into different
because as you remember, the dog park wasn't a dog park. It was section B, and then before that it was an athletic field, and the irrigation system for that was commingled with the infield system. So when they did the infield system, they watered, you couldn't control them. And Andre and his project, they separated that, so we don't.
So that was a big job, and the other things you're describing are little repairs here and there.
Yeah, they're both have impact because the areas where it was wet, it was always wet, and so I think this will be. You'll have. I think we'll have better control and better performance of the irrigation system, and therefore we'll have better, the grass will be much better condition.
You mentioned the picnic tables going to actual wood from the Trex or whatever it was, and do you anticipate any of the milled lumber from the eucalyptus trees on Albany Hill being used for things like that, or benches, or anything?
Probably not. I think we've used that so Andre's using some in his project, but we've also used most of that on Albany Hill for small retaining walls and steps and things of that sort. So I think dimensionally that's not as consistent. So I think it works better on the hill than it does in the park.
Okay, and who owns Memorial Park baseball field, and what's the financial agreement with the schools for the baseball field, and who paid for the turtle?
So, boy, there's a lot in there on that one. So the city owns the baseball field. It is there's a joint facilities agreement that outlines how a lot of the things are done, not just with ball fields, but use of various school facilities. Like I think we host pickleball in the gymnasium. And as far as the turtle, we're buying the turtle because we have the obligation to maintain the asset, and so this is part of addressing an issue about playing as a baseball field, not necessarily a Albany High School thing, because it's used as an adult league. There's many people that use it.
Summer camps would maybe use it as well.
Not so much summer camp, but there's Little League, there's a travel ball, and if you drive by, there's an older, like an adult league that uses it. So the idea would be that whenever they're doing batting practice or practice, they would need to use the turtle.
Okay, and then you mentioned flex courts and doing something with, I'm forgetting exactly what you said was going to be updated or considered for updating in the tennis courts around town. I was on the subcommittee with Commissioner Chang Frank and Commissioner Kent maybe on flex courts, and so that would be something that would be, I'm hoping would come before
Absolutely,
us,
absolutely, yeah.
as before actual improvements are done to the netting and.
Yeah, so I think what we would do is line out a project, and hopefully through the project that Dina's doing, we can get some ideas of what a flex court means. And then that can flow into our design that we would then come and present to you guys, that then would receive, comments so that we're all on the same page with what is being constructed.
Okay, great. And that's the kind of thing you anticipate. I'm sure there's regular maintenance on the courts throughout every annual or whatever, but is this something you see happening this year? Or is it
Yeah, possibly late spring.
Okay, in a few months.
Yeah.
Right, I look forward to that.
Yes, so this is the first year of that program that we're doing, so we want to start getting ahead of steam, and it took a little bit of time on the sidewalk program. Now we execute sidewalk projects without a lot of they come pretty routine, but in the beginning it wasn't, because we're kind of finding our way, and I think this will be a little bit of that too. But I imagine once we get the program going, once we understand sort of the assets that need to get replaced, we can get the decisions out ahead of time.
Okay, that was it for me, thanks.
Did anybody think of just recruiting better batters? Okay, more comments or discussion?
I do say, when I first got here, and this is a total tangent, I got out there and we needed to raise the fence because some kid was hitting it out and breaking windows across the street, and I was like, give the guy a star.
Oh, that's a good hit.
And we haven't had that same problem in the
Right field, yeah.
So
Other discussion? Yeah, please.
Is like field service for winter and summer also include like Pier Street, like you said, or like the parks itself, or is that just the turf?
So in the it is focused on turf. In the winter service, we do on the south side of Memorial Park. You probably noticed that we fence off part of the area. We sort of flip-flop one. So this is the area on the south side of Memorial Park. It's sort of unstructured play area. We host movie in the park and things like that there. And we don't want to close all of it, so we do one side one year, the other side the other year. And we also do Terrace Park. But it is really just, the service is the same. We aerate, we try to, as much as we can, keep people off of it. We top dress it and seating. And I would say it's probably less effective than the ball fields, just because I think it's just a snow fence keeping people out. So I don't know. There's rule followers, and then there's people who just do it.
But it's not like for individual like trees or anything.
No.
In like Pier Street.
No. It's really just blocking it off and giving giving it a little time to rest.
Yeah, just for clarification, like what's the difference between like the normal maintenance of the tennis courts and what you're gonna do with like the 200,000 the terrace?
I didn't hear all of that, but I can.
Like what's the difference between the normal maintenance of the
Okay.
tennis courts and like what you're gonna do with the?
So in the normal maintenance, and we've been probably pretty spotty on doing some of this. There's cleaning, and actually in a part of our trash run, we go and clear the courts. But there is buildup, particularly at Terrace Park, where there's a lot of stuff from the trees coming down and sits in the corners, and it builds up, and that degrades the surface. And that can be done on regular maintenance, cleaning it, and then having there's contractors that can come in and do surface cleaning to prolong the service. And that's one thing I want to start doing, particularly at Ocean View that we redid. What we're doing here is we're going to strip the court of its posts, everything. There's a large crack on the eastern side of the court, the one that's a little higher up. We're going to resurface it with asphalt to address the crack, reinstall things. So it's be like a new court.
And are there any like plans to do that to the Memorial Park tennis court?
We're going to move to that one next. That's on the list. It's just Terrace Park is really there's a crack there, and the posts were they're bent over and whatnot. We've patched it together as much as we can.
The terrace is marginally usable.
Yeah. So.
One idea I had, and maybe we already do this, just the stuff that comes to mind. Do we, at lunch, as lunch is over, do we have trash cans on that end? Because I know the trash cans generally are at the street. Are they between the park where kids are eating lunch and the school where they walk?
So this is interesting. Was it last year? Not this this school year. Last school year, when this blew up, we actually did it wasn't really a study. We went out there and saw where the trash cans are, where they're being used, because some were overflowing, some weren't used at all, and including the ones that were along the roadway where the cars park. Those were issues on another, because people would take stuff in their cars and just overload the trash cans. So we actually removed those, and we repositioned trash cans in areas where kids were, or people, not only kids, but the people were using the park where the trash was happening. And I think it's addressed a little bit. I don't know if it's come back, but kids would sit at the bleachers near the tennis courts and eat, I think. And that the little trash cans inside the tennis courts were just overflowing with trash. I think we got rid of those, or did we? But the idea was we wanted to limit trash going into those and make them put in the big bellies. And I think it's working.
Easier to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Right.
I had one more question. I forgot to ask I did ask about the ballpark in Memorial Park for USD. The tennis courts at Terrace Park that you were just talking about, you said they're used by St. Mary's.
Yep.
And I was wondering what kind of MOU or what kind of financial arrangement do we have there?
So I don't know exactly, but
Private entity.
yeah, I think they pay a rental fee like any other user. So I think they're just like,
They just reserve in advance.
yeah, and that's Joy in Recreation. She handles a lot of that, and I think all the leagues, whether it's soccer, baseball, tennis, put reservations for various courts or fields, and she tries to come up with a schedule. But the only ones, everyone other than Albany Unified pays, our the rate that we have in our rate schedules.
Okay, so they're just a regular rental user.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Anyone else want to weigh in? All right. Seeing none, we will close the item. Thank you very much. It's always good to get these updates. Was there?
Did you check public comment? I forget.
Did.
Okay, great.
We did. Did, right?
I think so. I don't know. I was
Either
talking.
way, there's no hands raised.
I was
No
talking.
public.
I guessed that, but I was pretending. All right. Moving on, subcommittee updates. Not seeing any subcommittees. Announcements and future agenda items.
You want to do your announcement? You don't have one?
Yeah. Just to piggyback off what Mark was talking about, the dog park is now back open, so it's open for public use. The other ball fields and stuff are open as well, and that's weather permitting right now, because if it starts storming, we will have to close it to keep the fields from getting too messed up. My next announcement is the Kids and Family Expo. Join us for a fun, family-friendly afternoon at the Kids and Family Expo, a one-stop shop for programs and services for kids and families. Bring the whole family to the community center on Saturday, February 28th from 1 to 4 p.m. Guests can explore local programs and family services, including summer camp previews and the opportunity to sign up for our popular Friendships Club summer program, as well as special discounts available for registrations completed at the event. Enjoy a variety of activities for kids and parents alike, including tasty snacks, free face painting, a free raffle, free biking, and strolling magician from 1:30 to 2:30. Come out and connect with community resources and join in on the fun.
All right, announcements. I should have said this during the agenda item. You mentioned the request service or the report a problem tool. I use it a lot because we see stuff on the Blue Glove Crew, and I just have to say they're very responsive. I hope it's not because I'm the one submitting it. I trust that it's not, but oftentimes just a day or two the thing's gone. So I kudos for that. That's great.
I'm not
Great service.
biased. I respond accordingly.
The only thing I would say is that I'm a little shocked to hear they all go to you.
Yes.
Because the hardest part is figuring out which category to put. It doesn't matter. You don't need that. You don't need that button.
It does, because that gives her the information to tell whomever to go do the work.
Oh, but I don't know I'm not doing the right one half the time, I'm sure.
I usually can figure it out. So
That's the thing.
Yeah.
All
Give
right.
away the secret, or else you get a stack of.
All right. Anyway. All right. Another announcements, agenda items?
So we do have.
Clearly, we'll have the Parks Master Plan study addendum coming up.
Yes, we'll have the Parks Master Plan. We might have what I'm super excited about, actually. Hillary Sardinas has been talking with Margot, and I think she's doing a project. This sounded amazing. She's doing a project on Albany Hill, and she's putting little trackers on monarchs.
Yeah.
And I was like, really? And so she likely or might be coming to do a presentation on that, which I think would be just fascinating. And then I haven't heard anything about it, but it is sugar sweetened beverage time, so that'll be on it. But I'm less excited about it this year than I have in the past.
I think with the butterfly things, the hardest part is getting them with the dart to get them to go to sleep.
Actually, Margot explained it a little bit. It's really fascinating.
It is. I'm sure
How
it's very
big is
good.
that thing? I mean, can they fly with it?
Yeah, it's
No,
tiny.
I ran into
Hillary.
Hillary in the grocery store, and I was like, really? And she showed me a picture, and it was amazing. And then they have this thing is very educational, because then with the GPS tracker, you can see, oh, this one originated at Albany Hill, and it goes here. Like, it is fascinating, and I couldn't believe that it can be.
You can do that to a butterfly.
Right.
Yeah.
I know.
And Margot said, I guess they attach it by cooling them, so it kind of slows things down. But then when they warm them up, like one of them, like she said, it was like rolling around like a dog would be to,
Oh, yeah,
get
yeah.
something off its
Yeah,
back.
Sure.
So, yeah,
I think we can understand. All right. Yeah.
When one agenda request is when you do, or related to something you already mentioned, was for flex courts, is when you do agendize that to make sure to look at old contact lists for all the tennis people, all the pickleball people, because they were very engaged with all of that. But then also, it should also include whoever we have on the volleyball people. And then some of these flex nets can also do badminton, so I don't know who we would contact for that, but that would be basically cast a wide net.
Yep.
Would be my recommendation.
No pun intended.
Yes, yes. It's still regulation.
Okay.
All right, people, we ought to keep these things light. All right, all right, seeing nothing else, we will adjourn and see you March 12th.